The following presentation is brought to you by the Realm Network.
It's right about time again to swerve again, confuse the general fans again. I don't know.
We are recording live.
Got it.
And listen, there's no introduction here. This is Stone Cold Steve Austin. Steve, I can't thank you enough. This is a gift to the brand. This is an absolute, I can't tell you how many weeks in a row now we've been talking about you, the Attitude Era shows, popping like crazy. Vince just came out of the crowd with the Austin mask, beat the crap out of you with the baseball bat. We're popping over you every single week. To have these few minutes with you today, Steve, I can't thank you enough.
Hey, man, you're welcome, man. It was good talking to you on my podcast, and we just got finished doing. Hopefully the question you're going to ask me is one that I remember, because as I alluded to in the past, dude, a lot of that stuff I forgot. So whatever you're going to throw at me, I'm ready. Hopefully I remember it.
Steve, this is how many interviews? I mean, give me a ballpark. In your career, how many interviews do you think you've done? Ballpark.
Man, I don't know if I could put a number on it. I wouldn't know how to guess.
I mean,
shoot question, shoot answer, I don't know. I never thought about it.
You've never been asked this question.
Okay.
Never. Even by the great JR, you've never been asked this question. All right? Now, Steve, I'm going to teach you a couple of writing tricks. We've never discussed this. You know, you're a talent. I was the writer. When I got stuck, Steve, there were two things I used to do all the time. When I was stuck, I didn't know where to go. I used to shut down, and there were two things I used to do. Number one, I used to go back to logic, okay? And then number two, Steve, believe it or not, I always used to ask myself, okay, what would happen if this were real? That's where I always started when I'm writing for your character. If this were real, what would Austin do? That's how I used to write, okay? So keep those in mind. You know, if this were real, what would happen? All right, now, Steve, we're going through the Attitude Era. The great matches with Taker, the great matches with Rock, Triple H, Shawn Michaels. We just did WrestleMania. I mean, the greatest matches. But sometimes, like, we neglect maybe the matches that didn't have the main event feel. Okay? Now, Steve, I'm gonna propose this. If this were real now, as a shoot, if this were an absolute shoot, not wrestling, there were three bad. I don't like to cuss a lot, but I'm gonna steal a phrase from you. There were three bad sons of bitches in the Attitude Era during the time you were there. Now, if this were real and a shoot, based on your experience, I want you to list the order of the tough sons of bitches, from who was the least toughest to the toughest son of a bitch, if this were a shoot.
If it was a shoot?
Yes.
You're asking some of the toughest guys?
Yes.
Oh, the toughest guy.
No, I'm going to give you three guys.
Oh, okay.
But I want to hear that answer right there. Who was the toughest guy as a shoot?
Everybody goes to Haku, and I have no reason to doubt that, man. The stories about that guy and how powerful he was, those big-ass hands that he'd hook an eye. I mean, here's the thing. When you got to fight with Haku, it wasn't just no, hey, man, we're going to throw hands. It was everything and anything. I mean, that dude was MMA before there was MMA. And I think the guy was impervious to pain. I don't think he felt pain. And that's the guy. And that's de facto. You ask any of the boys that's ever been around, that's the guy.
Do you know, Steve, let me see how you feel about this. Let me just ask you this question. You know who Vampiro is, right?
Oh, yeah. I talked to him.
You had him on the show? Yeah, he put
about 9 months ago.
All right, can I clarify one thing?
Yeah, please.
Vampiro did a You Shoot video. Okay, that me and Glenn Gilberti, the Disco Inferno, we sat down and we reviewed this interview, and we tried to separate what was fact to a figment of imagination in Vampiro's head. Okay, one statement he made, Steve, clarify this for me, please, is he made the statement, "Oh yeah, I just did Austin's podcast. He loved me. We hit it off. We're big buddies." Here it is, Steve. You ready? After the show was over, we talked on the phone for 6 hours. Steve, 6 hours, bro.
That was a little bit of a stretch.
But what I want, the reason I was telling you about Vampiro, bro, he claims he's got a story about Haku, that he was walking down the streets of Puerto Rico with Haku, and Steve, you know how like the streets have telephone poles lined up?
Yeah.
Vampiro claims that with the strike of his palm, Haku was walking down the streets, taking down one telephone pole at a time with the strike of his palm. Little far-fetched, even for Haku?
I got to go far-fetched. I did hit it off with Vampiro. I've never met him in person. I'm looking forward to it. They film Lucha Underground right down the road here, so hopefully I'll run across him one day. But I got to say that's far-fetched. Haku was one tough bastard, and powerful too, but not powerful enough to knock down a telephone pole.
Steve, was there anybody that surprised you? That like, oh my, I didn't realize that guy was so... I mean, was there somebody that surprised you?
You know, Jericho's a real feisty guy. I mean, Jericho ain't looking to start nothing with nobody, but he won't back down from anybody either. I'm reading a real interesting book before we were bouncers, and there's a couple of Jericho stories, and my old stunt double, Paul Lazenby, wrote this book. And, you know, when you say that, I mean, Jericho, he's like a badger. I mean, I don't know if he's as bad as a badger, but, I mean, he won't back down. So I give that guy, you know, and he never did. You know, Chris is going to go in the Hall of Fame whenever they decide to induct him. But that would be a guy, if you had to have all the guys lined up and you'd say, no, that guy, I don't see him being tough, especially when he had that long hair coming from WCW. But, dude, he's tough as nails. And then also throw, on a different side of tough, I'd throw Ric Flair in that toughest of all time, because whatever you think of him as a worker, or people say there was the Flair match, whatever, I don't know how many backdrops he took, how many times he got launched off the top turnbuckle, how many bumps he took over the top turnbuckle, got clotheslined off, took backdrops on the concrete. Dude, the bumps that guy took coming off a plane crash and breaking his back, that's that pro wrestler toughness, just the durability factor, because the way he carried those belts back in the day, working 60 minutes every single night, going over to all the different countries, shoot world champion in a work sport who represented at that level, the amount of damage that guy's body could take in the ring, and the fact that he's not feeling anything today, and he partied on top of that, dude's tough as nails. Not fighter tough. He's a guy that would never, ever fight anybody, but with respect to the damage he took in the ring, premier.
Steve, I got to throw this out there, and I know I'm getting way off track, but this is my last question, then I'm going to get to the original question. I got to throw this out there, bro, because I was shocked, and I'll never forget this as long as I live. You could not have seen that Bart Gunn thing coming.
Oh, man. Well, everybody knew Bart was tough, you know, and did I know he's going to knock out Dr. Death? No, I just knew Dr. Death was tough as nails, four-time All-American wrestler, a badass football player, over in Japan a lot. So, I mean, I think, you know, he was JR's boy, and JR's a good friend of mine. So I think, you know, he was really slated to win that whole thing. But, you know, I used to ride with Bart Gunn, and I used to ride with Bart and Billy Gunn. I guess he was Bart Gunn. So I used to ride with those guys, and I had heard tales that down there in Florida, he was kind of the man. And we never got any fights on the road, got any kind of trouble like that. We did a lot of stupid stuff and went to a lot of good bars and had some drinks. But I never actually saw him in a fight, but I knew he was tough. So the fact that he won that did not surprise me, and it really didn't surprise a lot of the boys either, because we knew. But, you know, when he got knocked out by Butterbean, you know, that was, you know, I didn't know how that was going to go down, but anytime you step in there with a real deal boxer, and I think Bart actually started taking some boxing classes, and maybe they got in his head, but he got clipped. So that's on the downside. But no, all the boys knew Bart was tough.
Yeah, do you know, Steve, I don't know if you know this, but, you know, Mero, who was a legitimate Gold Gloves boxer, his trainer started training Bart and completely took Bart out of his game. So when he went into that fight, he was trying to fight like a boxer, and Butterbean cleaned his clock. Yeah,
and he left his own devices. He had just remained a brawler or a street fighter or a bar fighter. You know, I don't know that the outcome would have been different, but, you know, he would have fought a different fight because that dude was street smart and he was bad.
Yeah. I mean, Steve, the thing I will never forget, and this happened as a shoot, and everybody, listen, I'll give them the plug, and everybody can go watch this on the WWE Network. It's there. Bro, the thing that I'll never forget, because I was watching on the monitor and I was right there, bro, when he hit Charles Wright, bro, Godfather's eyes went to the back of his head. I never saw anybody hit that hard in my life.
Dude, I don't even remember that. That was one of those. Was it that bad? I can't even. He knocked out the Godfather.
Godfather, bro.
Man, but again, dude, I mean, he was a bad dude. All the guys on the crew knew that. And here's the thing: Bart was such a good guy.
Yeah, great.
He didn't never start anything with anybody. But he was a big corn-fed guy, just naturally kind of, you know, just big with big mitts.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was tough.
Yeah. And those guys, him and Billy, were legit rodeo guys. Those are tough freaking guys, man.
I always tell people the worst part about working with Billy is shaking his hand after the match because he's got these gigantic brick hands, and every time you know, because we put a good handshake in there. It's not that bullshit. Sorry about that kayfabe handshake. You know, it's a handshake, and yeah, he's a big brick-handed son of a gun. And he used to ride. I believe he used to ride bulls in Florida.
Yeah.
You know, Billy's about 6'3". Bull riders ain't 6'3". Most of them are 5'9" in that pocket. They can be as tall as they want to be, but for success, you don't find guys Billy's size riding the back of a bull. And he's probably the only guy that when he climbed down on a bull, the bull said, "Jesus Christ, what's on my back?"
You know, Steve, I always say this, and I know we're getting a little off topic here, but I've said this for 20 years. I think arguably Billy Gunn may have been the best athlete I ever worked with. I think Billy Gunn was a pure, thoroughbred athlete. I think Billy Gunn could have been a professional basketball player. I think athletic-wise, I don't know if anybody was better than him.
Man, no, I'm not going to argue about his athletic ability either. We would always go back and forth about who was faster. You know, of course, I never raced him because I knew he'd leave me in the dust. But yeah, he was a tremendous athlete, and especially for a guy his size. And I don't know what he played in football in high school, but there's been a lot of great athletes. But when you talk about with great athletes with the size and speed that he had, yeah, he could have been in the top. And me and Billy are really good friends. We traveled down a lot of roads together.
Yeah, because I happened to see him one time in a pickup game. The boys were having a pickup basketball game, and Billy was playing. And I got to tell you, everybody else embarrassed themselves. The two guys lighting it up, honestly, were Billy and Jarrett, because Jeff was a little guard in high school, but everybody else, but Billy was like, I was like, this guy could have been freaking pro.
Yeah, and the thing about Billy is, I mean, it's like a lot of the boys, and myself included, were very, very competitive. Again, I consider myself a good athlete, not in his caliber, but when you put his athletic talent on top of his mindset, that dude's like a psycho. When you say go, it's on. You know, whether it's a work or a shoot, dude's going for it. So that's his mentality. That's all he knows. He knows either go full speed or don't go.
Yeah. All right, Steve, I'm going to get to the question now.
Okay.
If this were a shoot, if this were real, 3 of the toughest sons of bitches you cross paths with that we don't talk a lot about because they were a bunch of great matches.
Yeah.
Start at the bottom, work your way up to the toughest son of a bitch as a shoot. You ready?
Guys that I worked with, or
I'm going to give you 3 names.
Okay, go ahead.
3. I want you to think about this now.
Yeah.
Patterson, Briscoe, McMahon.
Who's the toughest?
Bottom up.
Oh man, you really hit me with that 3 spot because it's a fight for 3 and 2, and I know who's going to be number 1. Golly, you talking about Pat Patterson, Vince McMahon, and Jerry Briscoe, correct?
And I think I know. I'm almost sure I know who your number 1 is.
Yeah.
You want to get the number 1 out of the way?
Yeah, Briscoe,
right?
Hands down.
Tell people about Jerry Briscoe, because again, so many generations that we cater to now don't even know who he is. Tell them about Briscoe.
Jerry Briscoe's from Blackwell, Oklahoma. His brother is Jerry Briscoe, Jack Briscoe. So Jack and Jerry Briscoe, and Jack was former world heavyweight champion. They were world tag team champions many times over. Shoot wrestlers, a collegiate degree, just a college background, just one badass salty guy that would tie you up and spit you out if he wanted to. And the thing about Jerry is he's such a good-hearted guy. He was never selfish in the ring. It was always about the match. That dude is very badass. And all the boys, hands down, from top to bottom, got universal respect for Jerry Briscoe for his contributions and how tough he is. Here's a quick story. We were over in Kuwait, and I can't remember who I was working with, but we'd always make a spot because Briscoe would usually be the agent in my matches or be the guy running the show. We'd do a spot where we'd spill out of the ring, and we'd end up, just rolling all over Briscoe and just mauling him in general. But not this night. He had in his mind, after I went over and rolled on him and stampeded him, he hooked me in a chicken wing suplex and suplexed me right beside the ring on the floor there in those bought shows in Kuwait. And the attendance was really bad because the shows were bought and there was like almost nobody in the crowd. Right. And when Jerry Briscoe grabs, and don't get me wrong, I helped him a little bit, but he chicken wing suplexed me beside the ring in Kuwait. So I got big time respect for Briscoe. So he's my toughest guy. And so now you're talking about the number 3 spot. And
well, how, I got to ask you this, Steve, because I don't know the answer to this. I knew Briscoe. I knew Briscoe's back. How legitimately tough was Pat? I don't know the answer to that.
He was legitimately tough. Put it like this. Damn near any one of the boys or the girls. When I say the boys, I mean everybody. If you're on the road making a loop, if you're on the circuit, if you're taking those bumps, if you're living that life, you are tough. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That being said, the road is the road, and the bumps are the bumps. Because not everybody is quote unquote tough.
Right.
But the grind, I'm gonna put Pat Patterson in the 3 spot, and here's why. Everybody in the business loves Pat. Probably the best finish guy in the history of the business. Lots of Eddie Graham stories from Florida. I never got a chance to meet Eddie Graham. This is before my time, but I heard how brilliant he was. But Pat Patterson, Jesus Christ, dude, you were around. You know how badass that dude was with finishes or in matches, the whole match, but really the finish.
Steve, I tell people this all the time. This is no joke. I remember vividly because I did it purposely. Like Pat and Brett sitting in the golf cart. Pat and Taker sitting in the golf cart. And I would just be a student and listen. And genius. I mean, nobody will ever touch Pat. Nobody will even come close to him. What a great experience that was for me.
Yeah, so anyway, I'm going to put Pat in the 3 spot, but recognizing how tough he is. And I'm putting Vince in the 2 spot. And here's the reason I'm putting Vince in the 2 spot, because Briscoe's Briscoe, end of story. And I got to put Vince in the 2 spot ahead of Pat just because, dude, you've hung around Vince. I mean this in a positive aspect. Dude's a psycho. He's a freak for the gym. He doesn't sleep. The bump he took at St. Valentine's Day Massacre, he didn't have to take that bump. And it's not just that. It's the bedpan. It's all the... Dude, I don't know how many times I hit that guy with steel chairs and caught him wrong, and there'd be 6 or 8 stitches in his head over here. 6 or 8 stitches. Dude, you were there. Yep. And he caught me a couple times too. But that's not the point. That guy is a maniac. I've never met anybody like him. Vince McMahon, I think, is probably the most unique human being I've ever met in my life.
Steve, have you ever heard any stories, like maybe even, folklore? I've never heard a story about Vince getting physical. I've seen him get mad. I've seen him want to kill somebody, but I never saw that. Is there a folklore amongst the boys or anything?
No, I just think if it came down to that, he would go at the drop of a hat. Yeah. Vince, that's one thing about Vince. I mean, you can seemingly be out of business with Vince, and then he'll bring somebody back. Yeah, he might pull a rib on him and bury him, but, Well, you hear the story of Nails. When Nails attacked him backstage, he couldn't get, dude, that's Nails.
Yeah.
It's the ability to me, being tough. dude, I mean, it's not always just about being physically tough. It's also about being mentally tough.
Yeah, yeah.
And dude,
you got to kill me to beat me. Who's going to beat Vince McMahon, right?
right. And to me, I mean, and look, all the storms that he weathered through all the competitions of the territory wars, dude. There were times, and you know this, he had death threats against him when he was, he says they put themselves out of business. He is putting them out of business. Whatever the story is, just because of his psychological makeup on top of everything that he puts himself through, the things that he's done, I got to put him in a 2 spot because I can't call him tougher than Jerry.
Yeah.
And maybe that has something also to do with Jerry's skill set,
Yeah.
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 And again, that's not to take anything away from Pat because Pat's amazing. So Patterson 3, Vince 2, and then Briscoe 1 is the order that I would give you. Yeah, no one's ever asked me that question.
See, I'm like the Oprah Winfrey of
Okay, so you tell me then, let me flip the script. You give me your 1, 2, 3 out of that same group. I know you're going to put Vince at 3.
No, because see, I agree with you. Like Vince would go crazy on you. Vince would go, and how would you beat him? Vince McMahon's going to stay down. He ain't going to freaking stay down, bro.
No.
And I don't know. I never looked at Pat for obvious reasons because, bro, listen. Bro, the Attitude Era, every rib and every shot you take at Pat, how you got away with half of that stuff, first of all, I don't know. But it has me in stitches every time. But I don't look at Pat as being a tough guy.
Right, so you got to be in 3 spot.
You got to be in the 3 spot.
Okay, so that's the same as me. Go 2.
Yeah, bro. You want to hear was the Valentine Massacre bump the one you're talking about where Vince's entire ass was black and blue? Was it that one?
I never saw his ass, but that's when he hit ass first, and then his head ricocheted off the desk and messed his neck up.
Bro, you want to hear the best story in the world? Remember little Richie Curtis?
Yeah.
Bro, I tell everybody, I don't think the WWE would have been the same without Richie Curtis. Because the stuff the guy gimmicked and was able to get, etc., the guy was an absolute genius. Absolute genius. So I'm always putting Richie over. You're going to love this story, though. Bro, that bump that you're talking about, Vince comes crashing down ass first. Bro, he showed us his ass at a writing session. The whole thing was black and blue. Bro, here's another little note you'll appreciate. Nobody knows this. Bro, Linda made Vince go to the doctor. Vince would not go to the doctor. Linda made Vince. Can you imagine how tough that must have been? So Linda made Vince go to the doctor. But I'll never forget, bro, the night after the bump. Vince is there, I'm there, making sure he's okay. You know he's not selling anything, bro.
Yeah,
come on, bro, stop. Little Richie is there. And there's Vince, and he's like, Richie, what the F, man? You were supposed to set this thing up, Bro, Richie, being as naive as possible, is sitting there. Vince, it was exactly where we talked about. It was set up perfectly. You missed it, Vince. You missed it. And, bro, Vince is getting ready. No, Richie, I didn't miss it. I was supposed to land there. You miscalculated. And Richie won't get. No, Vince, you missed it. You missed the spot, Vince. It was set up. Bro, I thought Vince was going to freaking kill little Richie Curtis because he wouldn't admit to, I effed up.
But here's what Vince was trying to get out of that. I don't know what. No, it was just trying to. When the boss says, Richie, we talked about this. You had the table in the wrong spot. That's the part where you're supposed to say, you know what, you're right. God dang, I had that thing just a foot off. My bad. I'm so sorry. It was like when I was fighting with Sly one time in Expendables. I was number 32 on the call sheet. I was fighting with number 1, Sly. Well, I'd already memorized the whole fight scene in a camp, 3 weeks fighting in a dungeon out there in New Orleans. All of a sudden we go to fight day. Well, Sly's starring in the movie. He's directing the movie. He wrote the movie. And he approved the fight scene, but he didn't know the fight scene. So we go down there in this underground tunnel. We start fighting. I headbutt him immediately because he doesn't know the fight. Mm-hmm. But when you headbutt number 1 and you're number 32, it's your fault.
Right.
So that's what Vince was getting at. Just own up to it, so you can kind of let me off the hook a little bit, so it doesn't look like I missed the mark.
Right.
But let me get back to your point. Yes, Vince missed the mark. He sprang off that cage, and I watched it the whole way down, and I've watched it on video probably 50 times. he hits the very edge. Yeah. He misses the sweet spot. You know where the sweet spot, for Christ's sake, everybody knows where the sweet spot is. He hit halfway right on the edge of that lip, and that's where the wall is. It can't collapse. Yeah. So it was just a bad landing. He didn't kick off hard enough. It wasn't Richie's fault.
Steve, I'm going to ask you one last question because now, listen, I'm going to make you say here on video, you're going to come on the Attitude Era show, right? I'm going to tell you what episode to watch, and we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay. One last question, because to this day, this drives me crazy. Okay? Steve, listen, WWE can paint me in whatever picture they want. People can think whatever they want. I know the truth. There was a time when I was so connected to Vince McMahon's hip. There were times when he was almost like a father figure to me. I'm being honest with you. I saw that I was lucky enough to be around the very few times he let his guard down. But when I walked away, and I have not seen Vince since 2002, haven't seen him since.
Wow.
When I walked away, I was like, I never knew Vince McMahon. As much as I thought I knew him and we were tight during that period, I never really knew Vince McMahon. With all your experience with the boss, and you were right there for a long time, do you think you completely have a 100% handle on Vince McMahon? Is that even possible?
Nope. I've known that guy for a long time, and then I hadn't seen him in a couple of months after the last podcast I did. The second last podcast I did for the network, didn't even get a chance to see him or visit with him, and then so I just recently went back, and after I talked to the Big Show, and before we went on the air, before Raw went on the air, we sat down in my dressing room and talked for about 30 minutes, and it was so refreshing, and I had such a fun time just talking to him about just life and stuff. And it really meant a lot to me. I had so much fun doing that. But it was a great moment, and it was great to reconnect with him. But of all the times that I ever spent with him, and all of, and again, man, to me, I tell people all the time, man, sometimes he was a father figure, sometimes he was a psychologist or psychiatrist, whatever I need him to be, he was. And that goes kind of, I don't want to say part and parcel, but dude wears a lot of hats. Mm-hmm. So he's such a smart guy, but I've seen him drop his guard a couple times, but he only drops it so much. And I can't say that I know the true Vince McMahon. I think only his family can say that. But I can speak to what I do know of him. I just think the guy, like I said, he's the most unique human being I think I've ever met. I agree with that. I learned so much from him, and man, I've been through hell and back for him. I love the guy. And dude, you were around those times, when I disagreed vehemently with some of the stuff that was going on. And one time, were you on board when I cussed? You were in Cleveland, Gunn Arena, when I cussed everybody out. Yeah. It wasn't pretty, but so he's seen me at my best and my worst, and I've seen him some pretty bad times and good times too. But I can't say that I completely know the man, but I can say, dude, I ain't trying to be funny, but dude, I love that guy. Yeah.
And Steve, here's the sad thing for me. I love Vince McMahon, and I always will love Vince McMahon. And Steve, I got to tell you, bro, since I left WCW 2000, it's 2016 now, bro. Over those 16 years, I've tried so hard to reconnect with him because, bro, there was a time he was a big part of my life. And I hate that's how the wrestling business is sometimes, bro. Right. Once it's over, it's over. When you still got feelings for the people. And I've tried, and bro, I can't break through. There's a part of me that really hurts because of that. Because I'm just like, bro, I don't know why it has to be this way. Like, I don't want to feel like I was close with Vince because I was making money for him at the time. And now that I'm not, I don't want to feel that way, but I mean, it can't be one-sided. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's interesting. Dude, you were a huge part, you're an unreplaceable part of the Attitude Era. So it's really weird when you just can't get back in with somebody after a falling out or whatever. I always tell people I'm exactly like my mother, and I have 3 brothers and a sister, but I'm more like my mother than any of them. And it's like, man, when you cross my mom, it's like end of story. She'll hold a grudge. Yeah. And I've been, now as I'm 51, I'm still not perfect, but I've tried to, improve in certain aspects of my life, and that being one of them. But dude, once I feel like I've been betrayed, it's kind of end of story. I think Vince is like that to a degree, I think. But then also, dude, as many wars that guy's been with some of the talent that, he'll bring them back when all of a sudden you thought never in a million years is that guy going to walk through these doors again, and here they come.
But Steve, you know what the funny thing is about that, bro? Remember, I met with him in 2002. So we buried that whole WC. Right. I apologize. I explained to him, this is why I did it, man-to-man, face-to-face. So, that was kind of... But anyway, Steve, I got to ask you this one. Bro, do you see what I'm doing here? I told you one question. I've had you on for 30 minutes. I'm milking Steve Austin.
Dude, I know exactly what you're doing. You're getting a damn good show.
I got to
And we've already talked for an hour and 35 minutes on my show, so I enjoyed talking to you.
Last question, because this is all about you. You're claiming now, I'm 51, I'm a little soft to forgiveness, okay? Bro,
well, I try to paint a picture here, Vince. We're telling stories, right?
I'm going to throw this at you because I'll never forget this. Bro, I don't remember the cussing out part as much as I do this story.
Yeah.
Okay, bro? Because I don't know if you've forgiven this individual. And I think, I'll be honest with you, if you have forgiven him, I think I'm going to be a little disappointed. Okay?
Oh, go ahead.
Steve, as God is my witness, Jeff Jarrett comes back to the WWE.
Yep.
It's his first time to go to the ring and cut a promo. I write a promo for him. Jeff was one of those guys, and still to this day, I don't think Jeff would ever have a problem of me telling him, Steve, you're the guy that, okay, Steve, this is what you need to get across. You go out and do it. Jeff was one of those guys you had to write every word. You had to, he depended on it.
Sure.
I write his promo. Jeff, look at this. Tell me what you think. And it was a big thing. He just come back. He was wearing that Aztec Indian stuff, whatever the frig that was. All right, so Steve, he comes back. He gives me the paper, and he's got some notes on the thing. So he added some stuff to the thing. And one of the things he added was the Austin 316 line.
Yeah.
Now, I know you like the back of my hand. And I'm like, Jeff, are you really sure that did not come from my pen? Are you really sure you want to say this? Oh, yeah. Austin will be cool with it. I'm like, okay, do you think you should run it by Austin? No, Austin will be cool with it. Okay. And, bro, I saw all this with my own eyes. My own eyes. Okay, bro. He goes out there. He cuts the promo. I'm right behind the curtain. Midway through the promo, he delivers the Austin 316. Blasphemy. I don't like it. You're using that to sell t-shirts. Steve, literally 30 seconds after he says it, somebody comes and joins me and stands next to me right behind the curtain. And it's you. And I'm like, bro, the first thing I want to say is, Steve, I did not write that line. I can't sell Jeff down the river. But you kind of held him responsible for saying it. So, bro, you're waiting there, and your face is blood red. Bro, he walks through that curtain. You read him the riot act this far from his nose. I swear, Jeff, Steve, with all due respect to Jeff, I never saw anybody backpedal. Like, not even in a cartoon, not even in a movie. Bro, I don't think I ever saw you more hot than that.
I think that was probably the hottest I'd ever gotten in the WWE. The only other time that would come close to that in a different aspect was when Big Boss Man was supposed to come to St. Louis Kill Center and hit me with a chair because we were going to work an angle. He missed his cue. He was in the back messing around with The Undertaker, and so he missed his cue. And so all of a sudden, Jerry Briscoe has to come to the ring to hit me with a chair.
I remember this was the big pay-per-view where Rock turned.
I never yell at anybody in front of everybody just because I don't do that. But I was so mad at Big Boss Man because I was so looking forward to working with him because I loved him so much.
Yeah.
I cussed his ass out just right there from Guerrera, right when you come back into the main part of the locker room.
Yeah.
But, yes, going back to the Jeff Jarrett thing, dude, it was like instant. As soon as he started knocking that 316, dude, you got to understand, by this time, I'm 8 years in the business. I ain't exactly been, given a whole lot of opportunities saying, hey, you're the chosen one. Go get them, champ. We're behind you. Holy smokes, dude, I had to climb up that damn ladder, fight all the bureaucratic red tape, BS, and politics down in WCW, get a little bit of a hope spot at ECW and some direction from Paul Lee. All of a sudden, ringmaster, you put me on color, I get a chance to get an opportunity. Bam, 316 happens because Triple H ain't going to win King of the Ring because of the curtain call. All of a sudden, my thing is over, and I'm like the hottest thing on 2 feet in the wrestling business, and all of a sudden, you're going to just waltz in here and try to yank that from me or throw a big tub of water on my fire? No, that was a total F you. That ain't happening because I'm standing up for everything, all the hard work that I just put in this son of a bitch. So yeah, that was a real come to Jesus meeting, and that was I don't care who the individual would have been, they would have gotten the same conversation.
Steve, do you know, bro, and I think you can attest to this, people don't, when I tell people, they always ask about the Attitude Era, the WrestleManias during that time, and I always tell them, you don't understand. It was just another show. We were churning out product, whether it was WrestleMania pay-per-view, it was show after show after show. And I tell people all the time, we never stopped to smell the roses, ever.
No,
there was
ever.
always the next show. But, Steve, I got to tell you something. We never stopped to smell the roses. I don't think we ever really understood how big it was. And I remember, Jeff, Steve, during that time, I was able to get like 2 days off. And I brought my family to Universal. Okay? And Steve, I'll never forget this. I remember we were on a ride. We're coming off the ride. And you know, bro, when you go to Universal, it's a sea of people. Thousands of people. And Steve, I remember looking up. And it was like every other shirt was Austin 316. And that's when I realized this is freaking you. I had no idea this was going on the outside because we were in the bubble. And that's when I realized this thing is freaking bigger than any of us.
And I didn't see that, but I mean, dude, I was feeling everything that was going on, and I knew how hot I was, and all of a sudden, for someone to come out there and throw that bucket of water on the fire, I was like, no, because, dude, okay, let's stop talking about me, but let's go back to you were there right in the middle of all that stuff. Tell me, or tell these people how competitive that locker room was back there, man, because hey, we were all brothers. Whew. Yeah, we were. We was all trying to go out there and have badass matches, but everybody was trying to one up each other, and it was survival of the fittest. If you wasn't strong, you got your ass stepped on. End of story. Am I right or am I wrong?
No, you are 100% right, bro. I mean, that's the whole thing, man. I don't know, bro. It was just a time that everybody was at the top of their game, wanting to be the best that it can be. I mean, I don't know, bro. I don't want to talk about that time, but I miss that. That's all I can say.
But I mean, that was the competitive thing for me. And it's like, hey, man, you ain't going to shut my stuff down. I've worked my ass off to try to get it. And look at Taker, Mick, DX, Triple H, Rock, all those guys. I mean, I'm not naming half the damn roster. I mean, dude, when you look back at that locker room, I mean, there's so many guys who ain't in the Hall of Fame that will be. It's just absolutely astounding. But I don't want to get hung up on it. I'll just say, going back to the Jeff Jarrett thing, and people think that was a grudge from the old USWA days, from paydays. No. Look, I love working with Jeff Jarrett when he was a babyface and I was a heel in USWA. So there was never any grudge that existed between us, and there's no lingering heat to this day. Hell, I saw Jeff a couple of years ago in Los Angeles. It's been a while now, and we shot the breeze and talked together for a long time. So there's no heat that exists between me and Jeff Jarrett. But boy, I'll tell you what, back in, if you try to mess with a gimmick, yeah, you're gonna find out about it. But dude, I don't know if everybody would have handled it the same way, but almost everybody on that roster, I believe would have done something.
Oh, I think so. No, I absolutely think. You know, Steve, it's so funny that you say that because we're just coming off an episode of Attitude, and then I'm going to let you go. I just want to mention this, but it's the episode where we're into the Attitude now. You got the belt. You won it a couple of weeks ago. It's the first time Taker comes out of character. And now Taker starts talking about, you know, everybody left you. He's going to promo to Vince. Everybody left you for WCW but me. Blah, 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 blah. And then he starts getting into, and then, you know, I've been here for so many years, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden Austin walks through the door, and Austin goes to the top of the pecking order. And, bro, I'm sitting there and I'm telling the people, bro, he's shooting. Like, yeah. Taker means that this is his subtle way of letting Vince know, bro, you're giving me a live mic. I'm going to tell you how I really feel. But that backs up your point of everybody, bro. You talk about the brass ring. One guy wanted it more than the other guy, bro. That's why you got the best out of everybody.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, Steve, I'm going to bring you back to look at one of the episodes of the Attitude Era. I'm going to end this, and then we'll talk about it. But, bro, thank you so much for letting me milk this to 40 minutes. Now I'm going to be a big hit with my subscribers, bro.
Anytime, man. It's always good to talk to you.
It's right about time again to swerve again, confuse the general fans again. Add another swerve and then put it on a pole again. Put it on a pole again. Put it on the pole again. And our square to quad is gonna get emotional as I wait to overbook the damn cards.